Well, welcome to this episode of Design Classroom Extreme. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we have a guest called Kelvin from CAL Design. Now, Kelvin is actually an interior designer, and I understand he's in the industry for 20 over years. Kelvin, you want to share a little bit about yourself and your business to our audience?
Like what Ashley mentioned, I'm actually an interior designer. Been in the industry for the last 20 years. Mainly the projects that we do are actually design and turnkey. What do I mean by turnkey? Turnkey is actually we include building it. That means we don't just design, we also do the renovation works, the project management until we hand over to the client. So the projects that we do mainly are residential. At times we do have some commercial projects as well.
How big can your residential project be?
For residential, I mean we do any form of size from a HDB flat and all the way until a GCB, a landed property.
Good class bungalow.
Yeah, a good class bungalow, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. What makes you or your business practice unique and stand out among the whole interior design crowd in Singapore?
Nowadays, actually, we are moving to a very different kind of renovation. As most people know that green is actually the in thing now. So our renovation, actually now we're moving towards into that direction. So
green
from
interior design, green reno.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Green interior design, green reno. So from design to the reno stage, it can be a pre-reno that we actually focus into green, or we can actually do a post-reno that we try to actually improve the air quality for the interior space.
Pre meaning that at the design stage you want to have as many green ideas, green techniques, and then post is after you finish already, you evaluate and then you try to fix all the problems. And you mentioned internal air quality.
Internal air quality, that's right.
Which is IAQ lah.
IAQ.
How would you fix that?
We have a few ways. One of them is actually we can use a quantum negative ion to actually coat into the environment. So that will actually help to cover out the formaldehyde, the VOCs.
It's an application.
It's an application, that's right.
So it's like something that you apply onto the...
It's actually in liquid form, so we actually spray onto the interior space, onto the existing furnitures, onto the walls as well.
So that means your carpentry has high level of formaldehyde or VOC, you coat it and you will actually reduce?
Yes, we will suppress it, and because it's a negative ion, so you help to neutralize.
How long does this thing last?
Usually it's about a year. So after that, we may have to reassess the situation, the condition of the place, and then we may have to re-coat again.
Okay, like a lot of people actually think about their home reno, and formaldehyde is something that stings your eyes when you go into your, let's say, a fully brand new renovation project, right? It hurts your eyes when you go into your house. That's actually formaldehyde. And a lot of consumers actually think that by airing, by just opening your windows, that should do the trick. Just air for every day for a few weeks or a few months. That should do the trick. Right? Would it not help?
Definitely that helps. Natural air ventilation actually help to purge the air to the exterior environment. So that helps. But of course, there are times that we will close our windows. There are times that the doors are not open, especially at night when you sleep. You want to turn on the air conditioner and all that. So of course,
that's where the thing is coming back, and then you're actually breathing it in.
Correct. And usually when that happens is at night time when you sleep or when you're sitting down in the sofa having a chit chat with your family or watching a TV.
You're unaware of all this
toxic
that you're actually inhaling into your body.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So it would be good that if we can do something to improve the air quality so that our health can actually be better.
Okay, so what set you into this very interesting direction? Because not many people who actually focus on this type of particular product like IAQ in the renovation.
One of the reasons is actually from my own personal experience. From young, actually, my dad was in the same industry and he actually got into cancer. And because of working in this kind of environment with the dust and everything. Yeah. So with now all the new technologies and studies that we know, we actually understand that there are a lot of fine dust that we can't actually see from our naked eyes.
PM 2.5.
PM 2.5, that's right. That we will breathe in and then it will actually give us a possibility of actually getting cancer.
So your dad is an old school carpenter contractor?
Yeah, he's an old school contractor, which is like...
in the course of his work, he actually inhaled all these toxicants.
Correct.
So after that, he unfortunately passed away due to this cancer.
Make me think more into how can we actually protect ourselves, especially workers when they're at work. That's why we actually focus into this direction, and of course parents nowadays are actually very concerned about their kids. Myself as a father of two, I also very concerned into this area. That's why I thought it would be a good thing that we look into this direction, and then we can help other parents not to let them get into a situation like this that their kids may fall ill due to the renovation.
It's good that there's actually a platform for individuals like yourself, like in this program, to air this concern and let the general public know that there's actually a facility, actually products that actually cause harm, but also there are solutions that can solve the problem.
That's right.
I see you also brought something related to your dad. Maybe you want to show us? Wow, this is very retro. I haven't seen this for a very long time. For those who are in the millennial generation, you have no idea what it is.
This is actually a toolbox left behind my dad.
古董, 古董.
Yeah. Okay. The things inside there, to be frank, mostly are actually his.
So
I did not really top it up with anything, did not use it for work. Mainly this is actually a memory. We have a very old school mallet, a hammer. These are things that he used more for small projects like, or for home base. Handyman kind of stuff. Yeah, you see this box is really so old.
Washed it.
Yeah, I don't think it's working anymore.
Very yellow. These are the tapping screws, tapping nails. This is something that your dad has left behind. Really a very good story that how your dad has inspired you in this way. That even though that it was a tragedy, some way or other it has also helped you to steer yourself into a different direction right now, and I think that's very nice. It's a very, very good story. Okay, this segment of the show, right, is where we get the designers bring in some pictures of their project. So it's a chance for them to share with the public about their work and their design style and their flair. So without further ado, let's see the first picture. The first picture here, we can see it's a bathroom.
This bathroom is actually for a landed property, a terrace house. We have a very big space over here. Client actually wanted to really make full use of space to enjoy it while they shower because they work very long hours every day. That's why we have the basin, a his and a hers. For the shower area, you can see that we have a sunken bathtub, and next to it, we actually have a pretty huge area for a standing shower.
Flooring over there is actually tile finish. The wooden flooring here.
Yes, that's right.
That's actually tile finish.
Correct. The idea of using the tiles, the wood tiles, is actually because if we use a natural wood decking, of course, it's actually meant for outdoor. But in times to come, of course, there might be some maintenance issue and all that. Okay. So that's why we choose something very raw looking that it can actually replace the natural wood.
In this case, you went out of the convention. Typically, you have it at a certain height, like say the 1.8 or the 2.1. But here, you've gone all the way up to the ceiling. And more interestingly, you've actually framed it up with a black frame. Why did you went about doing this?
Basically, why we actually do a full height is because of one thing, stability, safety. We don't want anyone to hit on it when with just only 2 contact points. Definitely, it will vibrate. It will not be that stable. So going full height, one thing is the safety, the other thing is aesthetic. So it will definitely look more posh and luxury comparing to we have something just 1.8 or 1.9 meter in height. The black frame, one thing to give this glass a character. And of course, the other part is we can actually, from a distance, we know that there is actually something over there.
Don't walk into it.
Yeah, definitely. And because they have 2 young kids, so I would like to actually highlight this. Maybe the helper is actually very hardworking. The glass can be really transparent at times. So with this outline, it does help to give us a visual of it, and we definitely not walk through the glass.
Personally, like this framing because pronounce the shower area very clearly, and it also defines the space. Because typically, what we see in the bathroom is the shower screen is actually invisible. You choose to have an open concept because the bathroom is so big, right? So there are no doors. You could actually just play with one fixed glass and you frame it up, so that gives it a nice touch, and I particularly like that a lot. Let's see the second piece. This one is like the entertainment area or the TV console area for the house, right?
This is actually the living area. The owner actually likes to have a sunken in area for the living hall. Due to the foundation of the house, we are unable to actually excavate it downwards to actually have a sunken in area. Create this effect that they want, we actually look into circular sofa. That actually I have the wall, curved wall to actually go in line with the sofa.
It correlates to this curve form on the, let's say from the plan.
Right.
When we look at it, it actually looks like it's curved.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, it will be better for viewing. So whichever sitting that you are at the sofa, you will actually have a better viewing of the TV.
And this textured on the feature wall is actually stones, wallpaper.
They're actually not stone, neither they are actually wallpaper. They're actually a kind of a material that is actually very soft, like vinyl kind of feel, but it has a stone effect. Comes with a double side tip at the back, so we just have to peel and stick on it. So if you are keen in doing a DIY project, you can actually do it yourself rather getting the expert to do it.
And I can see that actually you've also integrated the console. The console is actually in a little niche at the bottom there, so that you don't see anything sticking out. So
That's
this whole thing really goes with this curve form that you're trying to achieve. And another thing that I kind of realized about this is that you have done a display niche that's connected to this feature wall. Maybe it's also to show off the staircase so that this thing creates the curve form. And the other thing is that because this whole thing is quite big in size, without adding any display, right, it could be very monotonous.
That's right. Yeah, that's the whole idea of doing that. And of course, with a nice display area, as the clients actually travel pretty frequent, so they have a lot of collections and stuff that they want to display.
So this is a chance for them to kind of fill it out and gives a little bit of character to the space. This is a pretty minimal looking bedroom. I can see that there's some kind of textural design on the bed head. It's a low bed head with chevron markings, and then a very minimalistic, somewhat Muji Japanese kind of style.
This is actually a HDB apartment. Client actually wants something very simple and straightforward. Why not just having a very plain laminate cladding as the bed head? That will actually bring down the cost, but that will not give any character to the room. That's why we thought probably with some line works that we see over here, it will actually help to create some character. And using the wood grains, when we do the herringbone design, it will actually give a different depth and feel.
What's interesting is that your side table is actually pretty low. Low to a point whereby it's not the typical side table height. Is there a reason why you made it this low?
We try, because of the ceiling in the bedroom, we try not to have anything too high. So to keep it low, actually, it will somehow gives a very high volume kind of effect in the bedroom.
Plus the fact that you use everything
white,
right? So they kind of merge. That's a very good tip for our viewers. You don't have a very high ceiling in your space, right? It's important to kind of go lengthwise, go as long and wide as possible, and the other thing is kind of go low. So if you don't have a very high ceiling, right, when you get a sofa for instance and it's against the wall, try not to have a high backer. Try to have something that's kind of low and look long. That will give you a heightening effect for the space. And this one is actually a colorful bathroom. Again, I'm seeing a lot of chevron. Chevron seems to be your design language.
At that point in time, because from time to time, actually, I try to change the style and the design that we work. So just nice that these two projects are actually within the same period of time. For this as a bathroom, we definitely have to use towels because of the conditions of the bathroom. It's going to be wet. And this actually happens to be the bathroom for the kids. In times to come, when they grow up, actually this bathroom will look too kiddish for them. That's why we actually do something different, using the same thing, the herringbone as well, but we pick up tiles that are colorful, play it all over the wall to give some highlight. So this bathroom will have some colors that is suitable for children, and at the same time the colors will not be overwhelmed. So you'll still be suitable for adult bathroom in the future when they grow up.
To be neutral, majority of the space, and then only focus on some flair, some colors as a highlight, so that will kind of dress up the space. And if you really need to kind of change, right, it's only one wall that needs to be changed. And I presume all this is also green as well.
Yes, definitely. We are looking into that. For every project, we do discuss with the homeowners and see what is their requirement for it.
This is the final one. This is actually another bathroom. A lot of these dark colors, black marble grains and wooden flooring.
Basically, for this bathroom, actually like a powder room within a entertainment room. So there's no shower area. What you need is just the basin and the toilet bowl. So why the colors are so dark? Of course, like I mentioned, it's an entertainment room. It's meant for guests when they come for singing sessions or movie sessions and all that. We try to give it something
more luxurious,
yes, darker, and then with highlights, using like wood grain, dark wood grain to actually in contrast with the marble wall. Mirror, like what you mentioned just now, is actually placed at the corner because this is not meant to be used every day, like you need to actually wash your face and all that. So we put it at the side. It's actually meant for guests to, after washing their hands, to do some simple touch up. And then we still will not block the window over there.
So more natural light coming in.
More natural sunlight coming in. So that will actually save electricity.
So Kelvin, actually, we all know right now that the whole world is going through a digital internet disruption. A lot of businesses have actually been replaced by startups or digital businesses. For example, like the retail shops, boutiques used to sell clothes on shop. You have to get dressed to go out and buy clothes, and now everything can be done on the smartphone. Business entities like Taobao and Lazada has kind of like also disrupted more or less our industry as well. For example, furniture buying. It used to be like customized TV console, customize this, customize that, but now we are even seeing that Taobao or Lazada is carrying all these furnitures, which kind of in a way replaces our job. What do you think it's going to happen in the future for our industry, and are you threatened by it?
For me, honestly, I don't think I'm pretty much threatened by this online business thing. Mainly because I think for interior design, it still requires a human touch. You still need a designer who can advise you to give you the right directions to go. And of course, we also go into things like just now I mentioned, we are actually going into green interior design. So to be green interior design, there are a lot of things to take care of, which I think is a bit hard that by going to online, using apps, you can actually get that sorted out, because every house, every environment, whether it be a residential or commercial, is a different situation.
So you need to audit.
Yes.
There's a scientific element to it.
Correct.
Provide a solution.
That's right. Furnitures that come from, for example, Taobao, the quality of the material that they use, we would not know because it's not clearly specified in the apps itself. Furnitures like this, what we explained before is when they actually ship into Singapore, going through by shipment, definitely they require some fogging and all that on the ship itself.
Pest control.
To pest control. Yes, that's right. To keep everything safe before they reach Singapore. So with all this, right, actually it creates VOCs in the product itself.
More toxicants, more chemicals.
Yes, that's right. And going by ship, of course, is under the hot sun. You know, in the middle of the sea, the weather is hot. So that will actually bake it and then create some chemical reactions, and it will actually make it worse. That's why when all this furniture reaches your place, the moment you open up, you actually find, wow, there's a very strong sense of smell. It actually hurt your eye, you start to tear, or sometimes you can have some throat uncomfort due to all this emission of gas. Yeah.
So it may not just be identifiable online, because what you see is only an image.
That's right.
And then from there, it could be delivered. I've seen funny Facebook posts where they actually order a dress, but when it comes it's small. Or they ordered some kind of furniture and it comes as a miniature.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of possibilities that can go wrong, and of course a human touch makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Now we all know that the industry is also filled with horror stories. Renovation or interior design renovation, especially the home residential, is filled with horror stories. If you look at Case Trust, year by year, this like the number one or number two complaint. And everybody has always a horror story to share about it. And a lot of people tend to kind of avoid our industry. They don't want to deal with the industry unless absolutely necessary. The 门槛, the entry point to the industry is not very high. Tom, Dick and Harry, who can talk, could actually come in and be a salesman. Some of the ill practices includes things like collecting commission or they offer free design. All these, right, what do you think about this? Do you think all these are right? And moving ahead in the industry, should all these practice stop?
Well, I think this is very individual. Every designer will have a different view on this. From my own view, I don't represent the rest of the designers. I'm actually trained in interior design. We studied that. So for us, we actually charge our client design consultation fees. It's my responsibility to actually advise them to buy the right furnitures or any sanitary hardware that they will be looking at. So with this, of course, like you mentioned, commissions and all that, I think that doesn't really affect me that much, because my job is to advise them what to get. Usually I will just bring them down to a shop and then I will go through with them, explain to them what is required.
So do you collect commission?
To be frank, at times I do, but if there is situations that the client actually like the product and they want to have a better deal, I always tell them, talk to the shop, and I'm always open to actually remove the commission part.
To forego the commission?
Forego the commission.
But why do you think commission is happening in the first place? But in some parts, some people may think that this is a form of corruption. Do you think it is?
I think this is a willing party kind of situation. I believe all the consumer nowadays, they do know that designers collect a commission when they bring them to a shop to actually purchase a certain item. But homeowners still actually go down together with designers. I mean, that would simply tell us that they just want someone that they know. In case the product they buy have any issue, the designer can actually help them to resolve. Rather than they themselves walking into a shop that they doesn't have any relationship with, and in the end, they may end up having more issues. Issues like maybe the product has some damages, but they claim that it's perfect when it's arrived. Or maybe suddenly 1 week or 2 weeks down the road after delivery, the shop may not appear anymore.
That also falls down to the business practice itself, whether the integrity is there. Any individual decides to collect a commission, there is a responsibility.
Yes.
And that responsibility is not just to the customer, it's also to the person that's giving the commission. Because you're playing the role where you have to service both sides. And sometimes you have to take the side of the customers, or you have to take the sides of the merchant. What I feel, of course, is that you have to be fair, neutral, and protect what's best in the industry, and not to go against your own conscience, because the dilemma is this: if you take money from the product, consumer will think that you're on their side, right? And then if you don't take money, you don't make money. Because to be honest, it's not kind of fair to expect the designer to go shopping with you. For me personally, because I've also been doing that last time. I used to spend days with the customers shopping for one piece of furniture, and then only to have the client finally decide to just take something from their father-in-law. Don't need to buy. For us, that whole time that we went about shopping, trying to find the perfect piece, right, was all wasted. And so this, in a way, kind of cover some costs involved traveling and all that.
As long as the commission that we're getting will not affect the cost of the item being bought, it still has to be at a market rate.
There's an example recently, kind of talk about it as well, is that there are tour agencies where they offer really, really cheap deals, and you can travel to this place. And then how the tour agency make money is that if they bring you to certain establishment, and hopefully you buy some certain things from them. I think Thailand has a lot of that. You go to this shop and then they will bring you to buy whatever, and then they make some commission. For the tuk-tuk drivers, I remember they get some kind of coupon to buy food or whatever. So that's their system. There's no right or no wrong. It only exists because in the first place there is a market. There are people who are looking for cheap deals. But money has to be made somewhere. Part of the show where usually I ask the guests a final question, which is their own version or own interpretation of this statement. Can design change people's life?
Well, definitely design can change people's life. It depends on the person's lifestyle, their needs and wants that we actually design, customize to others. Because interior design is not about a template. If it's about a template, we can actually use anything to just get it done. We don't need a designer to be involved with the human touch. For a very simple example, maybe they have an elderly parent at home that requires certain assistance in movement. So we have to design something that will actually help. If let's say they are actually wheelchair bound, how are we going to design in a way that there is actually a smooth passageway for them to move about, the turning angle, going into the bathroom, what do they require?
They require more space when they turn.
Yes, more tight and narrowed, and then they have issues doing all this. And definitely inside the bathroom, they will actually need help. We may not be able to have fantastic, interesting shower screen, to make the whole bathroom like a hotel. I mean, that may not work exactly.
Obviously, with your green approach for interior design, that is already in a way changing people's lives, right? But in a not so obvious way. What other things you're also doing?
Well, I actually started a platform with some of my friends. We actually trying to work with community areas, for example, like people's associations. So we help them to provide talks and give some lessons to the elderly, so that we can help them to understand more than what they need to do at home to protect themselves. If let's say they're staying alone, what can we actually install? Children can also help to take care of them, or when they're in need of help, what they can do.
Give me an example.
For example, one thing is, let's say their kids actually not staying with them. How about having an IP camera at home? Of course, we don't put in the bedroom to actually intrude her privacy and all that. Sure. We can actually have it in the living hall.
General area.
General area. So that, if let's say the son keep calling the mom, hey, how come I can't get my mom? She doesn't answer phone call and all that. He can actually look through the camera and see is she at home, see a general area where the lights are turned on, she might not be at home and all that.
It's a good move, it's especially with the fact that the technology is so advanced already. And these are relatively low cost to begin with.
Right.
And once the elderly can start to accept these things in their life, right, they can maybe even try a bit more. A good example is the smoke detectors. I think that's also very good because a lot of times old folks can cook and sometimes either through forgetfulness or distraction or even the wind, right? The wind blow or whatever reason, so accidents happen. A smoke detector is also relatively costly and it can change. And a good designer will be able to integrate all this together and provide a solution that can really, at the end of the day, change people's lives.
Yep.
We've come to the end of this episode and I really thoroughly enjoyed myself talking to Kelvin. And Kelvin has actually shared with us a lot of his ideas about going green and as well as his projects. If you want to find out more about his works, right, you can actually check out his Instagram, you can check out his Facebook page. In fact, recently we're seeing him putting out a lot of these micro webisodes of him teaching us how to go green. So do check it out.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.